On this episode of the Wealth Alchemist podcast, I am doing a solo show, just me, Miss Keri, and I am really bringing in chatting about the energy of 2022, what's happening from a numerology perspective, and just doing a little bit of a reflection and closeout from 2021 and what the big vision is for 2022. So I invite you into this conversation. It's an intimate, personal conversation about some of my own stuff that I'm moving through and where I'm headed over this next year. And please do reach out and let me know, where are you at for the year? What's your word for the year? What's happening for you? Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Wealth Alchemist podcast. My name is Keri Norley. I am the host of your show. And today we have a solo episode because I had a guest who was supposed to be recording right now, but something came up and he wasn't able to. So I thought I would do a solo show, not because I have to, but because I wanted to. I've actually been thinking about doing this. It was the perfect time. So what I wanted to talk to you today was about kind of, I guess, like as many people are talking right now, I'm recording this at the beginning of Jan. So I will speed check it to get it out to you guys sometime soon, but we'll probably be more towards the end of Jan, beginning of Feb when this gets out there. And I wanted to talk to you about like closing off the 2021 into the 2022 energy. And it doesn't really matter when you're listening to this because it's the same concept, whether it's the beginning of a year or whether it's the beginning of I'm just sitting here right now listening to this podcast with Keri. It's fallen into my lap. It is 2024 and it's June. And this is the perfect time to listen to this and to take some reflection and take stock and look at what we're moving forward into. So no matter when you're listening to this, it's all perfect. And that's how I feel about, I guess, New Year's resolutions, right? Like, why wait to the beginning of the year? We can do this anytime we want. We can have this time to reflect and to look forward and to be with ourselves around what's going on in our lives. And I thought that I would also add that we are in 2022. So from a numerology perspective, I don't know how many of you know, like I don't often talk about this, but when I studied feng shui, which I've done an episode on the podcast, you can totally go check it out. There's an episode for me on feng shui. It's awesome. Feng shui for abundance. Go check it out. But when I studied feng shui, my mentor also taught numerology and colors and how they all work together to ultimately create a really amazing energy, or it can be a really shit energy depending on the numbers and the feng shui and the colors that you are surrounding yourselves with. So one of my actual original businesses, the reason, like when I started online as a coach for my own business, was teaching this. So I would do numerology, colors, and feng shui for businesses and help them to create business alignment. Magic happened. I freaking loved working with people with this way. And sometimes in my programs, I still do, because it's amazing. It's magical. And so if you're working with me one-on-one, you'll probably end up having pieces of this, but I don't often talk about it publicly. That said, neither one of these has ever lied. Feng shui, numerology, there's a beautiful story with it. And with numerology, this is why I think the turn of a year is such a shift in energy and why people take time to do this reflection, because we do literally have a shift in energy. So the 2021 year numerology perspective comes down to a 5. How do we get that? We go 2 + 2 + 1, 2000, 2, 21, 2, 1. 2 + 2 = 5. It's a 5-year. So 5-year was all about change. There is an entrepreneurialism to it in some way. There can be a capitalism to that in some way. But it really is a year for change with the 5 energy. Then, which we saw a lot of, right? We've seen a lot of change happen. We've seen a lot of crazy happen in this last year, right? So now, as we move into the 2022 energy, it's a really beautiful energy, because for those of you who know anything about numbers, some of you may call them angel numbers. I would call them like a repetitive number. But when we see repetitive numbers, for me, for years, it's always been, if there's a repetitive number, 1 1 1 1, 2 2 2 2, 3 3 3 3, 4 4 4 4, there's like, to me, it's a message. It's like a divine guidance, like something is speaking to me. But at any given point in time, any numbers are. So this is that. But they're also these, the energy of those numbers is a different energy. And so with the 2022 year, we have these repetitive numbers, the 222 energy. Now that 2-2 energy is really about the big vision. And so it's really beautiful. We're moving from all of this energy of change and like chaos, really is what it's been, into this year of this big vision. Now, and it's a year of not just big vision. I'll explain this together. When we break that down, 2 + 2 + 2 equals 6. So we have a 6 energy, and 6 energies are a lot about love, family, connection. And so interestingly, God, I didn't even think about it. Interestingly, I've seen a lot of interesting things happen in families right now. There's a lot of shifting happening in families right now, I'm noticing. So yeah, as we come into this, we'll see this in this 6 energy that we're going to see people choose family and connection and love. And there's going to be almost like a pull between that and work. And so we'll start to see some people, it might be like, well, they might quit jobs that are like, consuming their lives because they really want to spend more time with their family. They're going to find ways to incorporate in their business more work-life balance. They might pull back from their business to have a little bit more time with their families. There might be more family holidays. There might be people finding more love. All that kind of stuff could be happening this year because it is a year of this love and connection and family. And so that's the energy we're moving into with this big vision picture, this big picture vision experience, right? So many people I know, especially in my spiritual community, like it's like, whoa, it's like an opening has happened of like seeing, oh my God, I can do this. And like, I'm having this bigger thoughts and I'm expanding myself into bigger places and I'm seeing these bigger visions and, oh, could I really do that? And so if that is showing up for you right now, I highly recommend that you explore it. You explore like, where can I go bigger? If it's not actually consciously in your field, or if you have been playing on like, if you can look at yourself, this is somebody, a new mentor who I've been working with this last few weeks. Her name is Kate Gray, amazing woman. Go check her out. She does sovereign business. Oh, sovereign business. Go look up sovereign business. I think there's a thing at the end of that. And she had this post and it really like hooked into me when she said this. And she said, ultimately something about being mediocre. Like people say that we're going all in, but are we actually being a little bit mediocre? Like if you really check in with yourself, are you being mediocre or are you all in? And if you're all in, are you really acting on as if you were all in? If not, then you're not. You're being a little bit mediocre. And so this year is like, have that year to look at yourself and go, have I been playing a little bit mediocre? Could I go a little bit more? Could I commit, not overcommit yourself to other people, but commit to your dreams and show up for yourself in an even better way, in an even more high vibrational way, in an even more go get it and get it done way. Oh, well, also, right? Like this is the flow. We get to be in all of it. That doesn't mean that it's like hustle, hustle, hustle. It means, how do I show up for myself in the most fullest capacity? Now, the fullest capacity could be, I'm going to go take a nap. The fullest capacity could be, I'm going to go on a holiday with my family, right? But what is that? What is that for you? And what does all in look like for you? And are you showing up for that? Because this year in this energy with this big vision, you have got the most amazing energy to help you to open up to a way bigger playing field for yourself. And so that's the invitation this year. And I know for me, as I reflect back on this last year, one of the places that I really started to look at is where the places I'm actually being mediocre and stepping into uncomfortable positions, financially, mentally, spiritually, energetically, and emotionally. I can tell you they're all happening right now because I don't want to be playing mediocre. And I say this with a lot of love for myself and a lot of love for those of you out there who are listening, that if you're anything like me, you're a high achieving, like driven person. If many people on the planet would look at me right now, they would think, Keri, you're playing mediocre. I can't imagine what your, full on looks like. Right? Because I have done a lot in this last year. I've done a lot of amazingness in this last year. I have like learned crypto and DeFi and increased my portfolio for the first time in my life, held all of my money is my responsibility and grew it. Fuck yes. Right? Not only that, but I completely shifted gears in my business, started learning DeFi and crypto and teaching it, became a voice for this in the world. My podcast is on, I think, charting in 13 countries around the world and some 50 or 60 countries it's being played in. My book is still selling. I am filling my programs. It's unbelievable what has happened for me in this last year in my career. And I'm so infinitely grateful. And I know that in my heart, if I check in, I can do better. And I don't mean it in a negative way. I mean it in a really loving way to myself. There are definitely places I can improve on the way that I show up for myself. Now, one of the things that is definitely one of my improvements, leading edges for me, and that I'm working through this year, and maybe you're with me, is looking after my body. I am actually, first and foremost, many of you may not know this, but I'm actually this is how I got into this space, was through health. So I moved from, you can go and listen to, I did a whole podcast recording on the story of my voice. So just quickly, I am originally from Chicago, then to Australia, Sydney for 15 years, and I'm in Denver now. You can go and listen to the whole story on one of my podcasts. So I was talking about how I started in the health industry. And so I went over to Australia to learn integrated body therapies, massage, a diploma in integrated body therapies, a diploma in remedial massage, a Cert 4 in aromatherapy, Cert 3 in nutrition, had all sorts of other external trainings, crystal healing, Reiki, all sorts of like iridology, reflexology, all sorts of stuff that I learned in the health and wellness field. And then my husband actually dove even deeper and learned quite literally how to target fat loss. They say it can't be done, but he did it for many years. We had a whole business based on it called Targeted Fat Loss. So when I say this to you about health, like I say this saying quite literally that like 19 years ago, I started studying this in this industry. So it's not because of not knowing what I was doing. And still, stress and life and all the things that happened over these last few years, I definitely have let go of things in my world that I could be way better at in my health, way better at in practices for my health. And it's in these reflections that we can look back, and it's not about beating myself up, but it's about saying, and I'm saying this to you because I know that it's really easy. In the past, I could have gone and said, how could you do this to yourself? And and you know better. I'm saying, and this is why I'm explaining to you even my like credentials. I know better. And still life happens. Still life happens. So just sitting here now, looking back, over this last year. So it doesn't matter what point in time that you listen to this, just look back for a little reflection of yourself over this last little while. And have you been showing up for yourself in the fullest capacity? And so where I have not been is in my health for sure. So in the last few months, I've started doing my boxing, which somewhere around the time of this episode going live, you will also hear from my new boxing coach, who is freaking amazing. I absolutely adore him. And I've started boxing. I have this last week been without processed sugar. For the most part, dairy, it has snuck in a couple little places, and gluten. They have all been out for this last week, and I plan on continuing that for a while. Just for now, because my body was like, this is actually better to clear myself and to allow myself to be free of the inflammatory things like being happening in my body, and to get back to whole foods. Now, this is not necessarily like a diet. I'm not I have studied nutrition, but like, I'm not here telling you what to do. I'm simply telling you some of the things that are happening for me and the commitments that I've been making to myself, so that, and this is what I want to say too, like, as we start to look at like what we want to create. So we're at 2022, we're at the beginning of the year. And we have an infinite amount of time in front of us for as long as our human body is here, right? Like however long that is. How do you want to show up for that? Like, what do you want as we look down, like at the end of 2022, at the end of 2023, at the end of 2024, whatever it is, in 5 years' time, what do you want to have achieved? Because when you figure that out, then you step it back and go, well, who do I have to be in order to create that? So one of the things that I keep seeing is myself in much more, I've already been to my first iHollywood Film Fest. I'm talking to somebody else about going to other film festivals. I've been invited. And so it's like, oh, I can see myself on runways. And if I'm on runways, then I want to see myself in a beautiful dress. And what does that dress look like? And how do I want to feel in that dress? And is my body in that place right now that I want to be in that dress? Again, this is not, I want to be very clear about like, you have to be the perfect size or anything like that. But do you feel the way that you want to feel? And I'm asking you this as well, in your dream. And so when I started to really sit with it, I was like, no, I don't, because I'm not doing the best to look after myself. And so this is the year where we start to, right now in this moment, doesn't matter where you are, you get to choose, am I playing in this mediocrity or am I going for greatness? Right? And so then who do you be in order to become that person? So does the person who is in the dress for me, right? As I sit and think about this beautiful dress, walking down a red carpet, wherever I am in some high vibe place, right? Wherever this is, wherever this ends up being in the world. Who do I have to be and how do I have to show up for myself today to be that person? Because that's just it. Like we just show up for ourselves that day, that way every single day. And then eventually we're like, oh my God, I'm here. That's literally how manifestation works. And so the being part for me was, well, you eat the food that fuels your body and feels good. You move your body in a way that feels good. So today I was supposed to do some different exercises today, and I woke up and my back was a bit sore, like quite like locked in place sore, which is very unusual for me. And I said to my husband, I was like, I feel like if I do those exercises I had to do, I will actually make this worse. So I did a lot more of a gentle routine. Like we get to listen to and honor our bodies and where we're at for each moment in the day. And that is how we are actually being in the most high vibrational, beautiful way of being in our lives. And that's how we commit to ourselves, right? This isn't about beating ourselves up. Like I could have gotten up today and moved and smashed myself, but I just was like, no, I'm going to end up hurting myself more. I'd rather give myself the ability to have like slow mobility movements to get my body moving so that it felt comfortable to even be sitting here. Never mind off doing these. Otherwise you just end up backwards, right? So it's about listening to our bodies and responding in that way too. So that's kind of where I'm at this year, like really looking back and reflecting in that space of like, where can I show up? And I'm going to ask you that too, right? Where can you show up in the next level version of yourself? What's this big vision? And if you could dream beyond the vision, this is something actually one of my mentors, Jessica Caver-Lindholm, teaches. I love when she says this. It's really, it'll really help you get beyond yourself. And one of the things she says is, if I'm shooting for something like right now, she was talking about, she's shooting for a $5 million a year this year. So she actually will start to project herself into a $20 million a year. Because if I show up to be the person that's making $20 million, this isn't her, whatever your goal is, then inevitably it has to be that I make the 5 million because I'm already showing up as that person. And so it's like, it just happens. Right. And so when we project beyond that, then these things show up for us. And the magic and miracles that can happen when you allow for things to show up for you, it boggles my mind. The amount of times I have been telling my husband, like weekly, more than once a week lately, I'm like, oh, I was thinking about this. And we are in a place right now, and I will say this, like if you are in tune to the energies of the world right now, we are in a place of really fast manifestation on a good side and a bad side, whatever you're wanting. Like things are coming fast and coming quick, right? So I started like thinking things and like things show up. So even recently, I'll share this. There's nothing cemented into this yet, but recently, and I'm not going to share names, I saw a post for somebody who's a very famous person, was asking for famous person in his arena, but quite famous, was saying he was willing to be on people's podcasts. So I was like, yeah, come on my podcast. I applied and it had too many, didn't get in time, whatever. And so they said, come back in a couple of months. I was like, cool, I will. In the meantime, I've told Laura, who you guys know, who's my podcast mentor, Laura Powers. She's got interviews on here and she's amazing. If you guys want to get into podcasting, ask me, I'll connect you with her. She's epic and phenomenal and you definitely want to work with her. So I mentioned it to her one day and she's like, oh, I had this person who has a relationship with this guy that I was talking with on my podcast. I can introduce you, then maybe she can come on your podcast and maybe you'll get to this person. Okay. Then this weekend, this is crazy. I love telling these manifestation stories. I'm meeting this woman who I know through online and through a mastermind. And she's in Australia and I am in the States. She's from Australia. That's how I met her, was in the Australian community. And over Christmas, she posted that she was in Denver. And I was like, what are you doing in Denver? And how do I not know? She's like, wait a minute, you're in Denver. I was like, yes, but it's taken us time. Like she was traveling, like she had to go south of Denver, blah, blah, blah. It took us time to actually connect and be together and whatever. Long story short, we literally like, let's meet this weekend. Her location changed. She's like, is this near you? And I was like, no, but funny thing is, I actually wanted to go there this weekend, and it was a hot spring. So she was going to this hot spring that's like 2.5 hours from us. And my son just got a bicycle, a new mountain bike, I should say, a mountain bike. And it's a kick-ass mountain bike. And when I talk about delays in shipping and supply chain issues, this bike that he got, we ordered about 5 months ago, and it arrived. We had to get it into a town 2 hours from us, 2.5 hours, whatever it is, 2.5 hours it was, away from us, because if we waited to get it in Denver, then it was going to be over a year for delivery. A year for a kid's mountain bike, people. All right? Supply chain shit. I want to give you a quick message before we get back into this episode. On this show, we are talking all about raising your vibes and helping you create the wealth and life you desire. One of my all-time favorite tools to support you in this work is the Healy. Healy is a quantum vibrational healing tool that with a couple touches of a button has you clearing your energy and raising your vibes. Honestly, there's not really much easier in the world that you can do to raise your vibes. It has been a massive part of my transformation, as well as thousands of others. Truthfully, this podcast probably wouldn't be here without it. If you have pain, sleep issues, headaches, hormonal stuff, food sensitivities, stress, anxiety, depression, the list goes on. I cannot recommend checking this out enough. Medical disclaimer here. This does not treat or cure anything. If you are curious to find out more, please email me at Keri@KeriNorley.com. I'm sure that you will be happy that you did. So anyway, I was like, I knew when we went to go pick this bike up that it was near hot springs that I've been wanting to check out for the last couple of years. And I was like, so inevitably, like hilarious, the day that she messaged me and said, hey, by the way, we're going to go to this place this weekend. Can you meet me there? And I was like, oh my God, that's so funny. Like, because I got the message just after the bike shop had called to say, hey, the bike's available. And I'm like, you can't make this shit up, people. You can't make this shit up. Right. So we end up meeting, like she's from Australia. I'm here. Like we both end up in this random little spot. It's a tourist destination for a hot spring, very small tourist destination. It's not like a big tourist destination in Denver. I mean, Colorado, it would be like for local Coloradoans. And we go and we meet up in this hot spring. And like, lo and behold, I'm sitting in this hot spring, the guy she's with, that she's here visiting for work, happens to know this person and has worked with him and has been on this place and and has invited me to this event where I can meet him and I mean, like the whole thing. You cannot make this up, you guys. If I had sat and said, okay, well, this is, if I documented, this is the linear approach to how I'm going to get to this person. Like you can't. And it wasn't even somebody I was even caring. Like, I really honestly don't really even care if he's on my show or not, this person I'm thinking about. I really don't. I have no attachment to it. And this is part of manifestation. Like I have zero attachment to whether or not. I was just like, well, that'd be cool to have him on my show. Why not? It would actually add a lot of publicity and it'd be really cool to have a conversation with this guy. And so, and it'll be very cool to have a conversation with the other people that I've met in the meeting and like in all of the stuff that's happening. And so, what I'm saying that is like, we are in a time of these big visions. Like I would have never 2 years ago, I wouldn't even a year and a half ago, even thought to even consider like, that's the kind of person I want to be talking to and having on my show. Oh my God, I could just be speaking to that person. Like this is the energy of the big vision and how we do not need to understand how we are going to get there. And if you start dreaming this big vision from a space of lack and limitation and how, and you've put all of these caps on the dream that you have, you won't get there because you won't shoot past it and you won't allow yourself to receive everything that's magic for you, right? Like I couldn't have planned or predicted it. Again, I have no idea how this will all turn out in the end. The story in and of itself is just hilarious to me. It's amazing. It's a freaking amazing, magical manifestation story. Excuse me. So that's what I want to say, right? Like allow yourself to dream big, but dream beyond the dream, because when you do, these magical things will happen And your life will line up to when you allow yourself to surrender, because you can't possibly know. Like, I have made goals for this year that I can't possibly understand how it will happen. Like, on a very mental level, the logic isn't there. Like, logically, I'm like, I don't know. No idea. No idea. But it's actually a very practical goal. Sorry, very practical goal. Like, I'm growing Unplug this year. For those of you who have not heard about Unplug, let me plug it right now, shamelessly. For those of you who have been listening to this podcast for the last year and you've heard amazing, amazing, amazing conversations around the crypto space, I'm talking to you if you've been interested. So Unplug is for those of you who are interested in moving your entire life and business. Doesn't even have to be entire. I'm gonna take that back because some of you won't be ready for that. But moving your life and business into the Web 3.0 space, into DeFi, into crypto, into DAOs, which are decentralized autonomous organizations, into NFTs, into privacy, into more security, into way more cool things. Lots of really amazing things in order to help you decentralize your life. Now, why am I saying that? I brought up earlier supply chain issues, right? With this bike. Now, one of the things that's going on right now is we are having supply chain issues. We have to be able to, as we look at these huge conglomerations of the pharmaceuticals, of the governments, these big companies are taking our freedom. And so we have got to be able to, and they have been corrupt as fuck for years. Let's be honest. Okay. They've been corrupt for years. It's just that we're waking up to seeing it now. And so we get to choose how we're going to move forward and how we are going to be our own sovereign beings so that we can thrive through whatever hell they bring to us. Whatever the heck they want to do to try and destroy our freedoms won't matter because you have become sovereign. And what this space allows us to be is sovereign. It allows us to be sovereign. So you can take your money and you can be making, I have accounts when I looked in over this last month, and accounts change in DeFi and in crypto. But I have accounts that have been making anywhere from 5%, 12%, 28%, and up to 61% in an account. Compounding interest. And I make that, I don't make 61% daily, I make 61%, it would be annually or 10, whatever it is. But the money shows up every single day. So every single day, one of the things that I love about this space in DeFi, how many people who are listening have actually thought to themselves and written in their journals and thought about, I just want to make money every single day. Every day money comes to me. Every single day something gets sold and I make money every single day. I know so many people repeat that, and it takes a long time to get to that place for some people, right? Sometimes it takes overnight. But for the most part, as entrepreneurs, we have to work for a while to get to the place where we're making money every single day from our business, right? With DeFi, you can wake up and every single morning you can look in your account and you will see inevitably, just like in a savings account, you will make money. Your asset sits there nice and safe and stable, but you will continue to make money that compounds every single day. How good does that feel for your nervous system? Just sit with that for a second. What would it feel like to wake up every single day and know that you're making money? Sovereign. So amazing. Inner soul, right? And so it feels really good in mine. I can tell you, I love looking at it. I love seeing growth. I love seeing my money grow for me. So that said, right, we can have this financial sovereignty, but also we move into the space of with NFTs and DAOs. So DAOs are decentralized autonomous organizations, and they will ultimately, the way that I look at them, they are the way that we are going to govern. And so you can be anonymous. They're decentralized because the more people that we have in them, the more decentralized they become. They are autonomous, they are within themselves, and they're, organizations. So ultimately, and I could say anonymous as well, because ultimately the way that we vote is we click a button on a computer and you're anonymously voting, and the organization gets run by this. And so what an amazing magical thing that we actually literally take power back to the people. Quite literally, we take power back to the people. And so we will have these different organizations set up in different communities, and you might be part of different ones. right? So you might be part of one that's a community that you're living in. You might be part of one that's a community for your finances. So SyncDAO, which you guys will meet, I think we've talked about it at some point with Roscoe, but I know I need to come back. I need to get him on here to talk literally just about SyncDAO, because that's his financial, like it's a financial DAO, where we're going to have perpetual vaults and people will be able to make money, and it's a regenerative money experience. We have all sorts of different ways to be able to do these things. We'll have, so with NFTs, a lot of people look at NFTs, and we've talked a little bit about this on the show, that there's NFTs, and some people think it's just for art and it's a little bit crazy, but NFTs will be our way of having our identity, like our driver's license, our passports. We'll probably see them with, we'll have communities. So a lot of people already now, like one of the things I would like to do at some point in time, when I get all the time to do this, and when there's enough of you around, it'll all happen in the right amount of time, in the right perfect place. But like to get into the community, you might get an NFT, or in order to get into the community, you'll buy an NFT, and then you get to be part of the New Wealth community, or you get to be part of Unplug, this mastermind, however that works, right? But there's already people in the world like Gary Vee and Impact Theory that are already doing this, that you get an NFT and you become part of the community. So there's so many different ways to be utilizing all of these different Web 3.0 technologies. And the metaverse, we have a podcast coming up too with somebody, Brianna Fay, pay attention to that one, all about the metaverse, and how it's ultimately the next internet experience. And it's phenomenal what we are bringing to the world. And you can be on the forefront of it, and you can learn about it, and you can utilize it in your business and in your life, and you can allow yourself to decentralize from the powers that be that are trying to take away our freedom. There is an ability to move away from a lot of this right now. You just have to choose it, and you have to educate yourself in order to be able to do it. This is a learning curve. I imagine at some point in time, this will just be normal. I'm guessing. At some point in time, we'll have this, a lot of this stuff will be a lot more normal. Just like the internet was weird when it first came out and no one knew how to use it and everybody thought it was bad. Just like electricity was when it first came out and people wanted to not use it in their houses because they thought they was going to burn the houses down. Just like when cars came out. Do you want to know when cars came out? They actually thought that women shouldn't drive cars because they were not capable of driving cars, because apparently when they got their periods or whatever, they were going to go crazy and they were not mentally sound to fucking drive a car. Holy moly, thank God I do not live in that day. Oh my God. But right, cars, like cars from horses was a big deal, and it was scary, and it didn't always work well, and blah 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 blah. So this is where we're at right now. Now there's a lot of you who have fear on this, but you can be at the forefront of this, right? And I can tell you from my own personal family experience, my grandfather leaped in the 30s. He leaped in and he got into the car industry, and he helped form the car industry. I had a beautiful life as third generation because my grandfather was willing to be at the forefront of something that wasn't quite so, that was a little bit on the edge, right? It was on the leading edge. But this is where, if you want to start making cash and investing, where you will start to be able to do it is by being on the leading edge. And that's what Unplug is about. And Unplug is about helping you to, I'm going to be bringing in experts. I don't even like the word expert in this space because I think everything is changing so often. It's just somebody who knows a lot about an experience. And then it will change, right? It's going to change again. But I have people who know a lot that are coming in and speaking about their specific topics to help you to dive in. So how do we start to work with these NFTs? How do we start to mint the NFTs? How do we create our own DAOs if that's something that you want to do? Stuff like that will all be covered in Unplug. And so it's not just about like having the conversations, which is amazing in the first place, but it's how do we actually come in with utility and use these and engage in these spaces and be at the forefront of bringing this to the world, and also be at the forefront of being able to, I'm going to say, get the greatest gains in it in all ways of this, right? So that's what Unplug is about. It is a 12-month commitment, and I would love to invite you all in. Whoever is ready to want to come and play, this is going to be amazing. I have incredible people already in the group, high level, high caliber thinkers. This is the group that I really want to bring in. I want you to be like ready and hungry to go and try this out. You do not need to know any of it. Totally like blank slated. Most people are very blank slated in there. And that's totally awesome. It's a perfect place to be. If you have some knowledge, that's okay too, because it's a great place to share some of your knowledge as well. It's a mastermind. And to be able to connect with others. I think right now, especially, like, the more that we can connect with people who are like-minded, who are also wanting to bring this to the world, it just really helps us to be able to explore our own thinking around it, because some of this is great. And some of this, I have a little bit of my own fears around too. Like, I can't say that this is the be all end all and this is all perfect the way that it is. And what I can say is that I'm excited that we have something that is allowing us to open up to a new way. And maybe this will be a transition. Maybe this will be like the AOL before we get broadband. I don't know. Maybe we'll create something altogether. I don't know. But right now, I do know that we are in an amazing point in time in life. And 2022, with this big vision year, is going to be an amazing year, should you choose to step into this big vision and allow yourself to surrender so that you can create it. Wow, that was an amazing little experience that I just had with you guys today. Is there anything else I want to say? This year, I will tell you my word for the year. This is what I'll tell you to close this. And I invite you in. Hey, what's your word for the year, by the way? I want to hear. Just send me a message on Insta or Facebook, and if we're friends on Facebook, and let me know what's your word for the year when you've heard this. I'd love to hear from you. And my word for the year, and I'm sure there are some surrounding words with this. I definitely know there are, but the one that I'm playing with right now is devotion. And it's not an easy word for me to play into, and it's why I've chosen it. And again, it comes back to the conversation where I started this, was around my health and really looking after myself this year. And so really in devotion to self. And it's really interesting because even in my business in this mastermind, one of the things that I am doing right now, and I was talking about Kate, one of the reasons I started working with Kate was because she's a manifester in human design, and I'm a manifester. And for human design manifestors, it's not easy. We are not designed actually to hold space in this long, long, long way. And we are really great at bringing and igniting things. Like, that's what we do. But my dream is this mastermind. So it's, how do I devote to myself what I need in order to hold the space to be able to, and have the energy to be able to, and devotion to self, create the team to be able to deliver this in the most phenomenally epic, amazing way for you who decide to come in, and still be devoted to myself, and be devoted to you, and be devoted to my family in the way that is all in a total beautiful harmony for me. And so for me, this is a really big thing this year, is like, how do I really look after me and devote to myself so that I can be the best for every other person? I will be far better off supporting all of you when I am in my full cup. And that excites me. And what I love about working with Kate is the fact that she actually is saying to me, she's like, she and I both know, I can't show up and be the best version of me for all of you if I don't look after me. I'll fall apart. I know, I've done it before. I've blown shit up before because of that. I don't want to do that again. And so that's the devotion, is like, how do I show up the best version of myself so that I can create my dreams, so that I can help the most people and create the most and best impact on this planet. And this year, I know for a damn well fact, like, I am not sitting here to hold back anymore, because this mission is so much bigger than me. And you will hear me say it over and over and over again. Together we rise. Together we rise. I can't do this alone. And I'm a leader and I'm an educator, and I want you all to come in and be on board, because I think what we have in front of us is one of the most phenomenal experiences that this world has ever had. We are in a pivotal point in time in energetics, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, to completely shift and rewire the consciousness of this planet. And I am all here for that. I am all here for that. And so if it means me taking care of myself the best, that I can be the best version of me, to be the advocate for that, then hell yes. Then hell yes, because I want to show you the way to freedom. I want to show you the way to sovereignty. I want to show you that you have the ability, no matter what freaking happens coming this year and the next years, as we go into crazy ass financial shit that's going to go down. Look, our inflation is up. I can't even, the numbers, depends on the country, anywhere from, I think it's a low ball when you say 6% in the States, to I've seen 25%, but even things like electricity going up 50%, car, like, you guys look at gas prices just here in the States, petrol, 50% in the last year. It's crazy. We have got to do something to create, it is like this year, like, it is your right and your Like, I invite you into creating wealth for yourself, whatever that looks like. And again, that can include having a veggie garden to feed yourself. Right? I know that's part of our journey. I'm not perfect at that. We are not there yet. Although my husband, very cool, has done an aquaponics tank. And so he set our fish tank up to create a little veggie garden in our house, which is very cool. I'll have to take a picture and put it up on social media at some point. So yeah, this is the mission, and this is the part I invite you into. So that's it for me today. If you want to know more about Unplug, then please do reach out to me. This is going to be a life-changing experience for those of you who come in. I am so excited because I say this because I know how much it changed my life. I know how much it has opened my world, how much it's a completely new language. It is definitely something you're going to want to take the time for. And it's worth every single freaking minute and every penny that you invest into learning about this. So if you want to reach out to me on Facebook, on Insta, you can email me at Keri, Keri, at KeriNorley.com. And let me know that you're interested, and let's have a play. Come and join. This is definitely my baby, and I'm here to expand it in this big vision of this year. And also reach out and let me know, what's your big vision? What are you calling in this year? For me, it'll be this, while I look after myself and feel really healthy and fit and feel really good about the way that I am treating myself this year. So I hope the same for you. I hope that you are choosing to treat yourself with the most amazing love and kindness and devotion to yourself, to your own needs, to your own love for yourself, because from there, everything else grows and expands. Until the next time, I love you all so much. Thank you for being on the show. Let's have the most epically amazing 2022, and I will see you on the next show. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you love what you heard, please help us get this message out to more people, because together we rise. Please review it, subscribe to the show, and share on social media. When you share, please tag me. On Insta, I'm at Keri Norley, and on Facebook, I'm facebook.com/KeriNorley1, or Keri Kaplan Norley is my official name there. Please come and connect with me on social media and say hello. I love hearing from my listeners. And thank you so much for your support. I'm so excited to help you bring in the new wealth.